Outen here from the ADN studio, continuing our summer football preview series. Today we're taking a look at the Tulane Green Wave. After back-to-back 3-9 seasons in its first 2 years in the American, Tulane has turned to veteran head coach Willie Fritz to turn things around in New Orleans. Fritz, who has won 155 games in 19 years as an NCAA head coach, comes to Tulane after 2 successful seasons at Georgia Southern, where his trademark pistol offense took the Eagles to the GoDaddy.com Bowl in their first year of official competition at the FBS level. Fritz has found success at every turn in his head coaching career, whether it was at the junior college level, Division II, the FCS, and most recently at the FBS level. Georgia Southern led the nation in rushing yards in 2015, but Fritz's version of the triple option is a bit different than what one would see at Navy, Tulane's counterpart in the American's West Division. It may take some time before Tulane's offense settles into a groove in 2016, as the Green Wave employed more of a traditional pro set last year and will be working in a new starting quarterback as well. But the move to a more run-oriented scheme could mean a big year for tailback Dontrell Hilliard, who averaged 5.6 yards per carry and scored 6 rushing touchdowns last year in a crowded backfield. Tulane's defense, however, should be solid from the outset thanks to the return of 7 starters from last season. The Green Wave is particularly strong in the middle, as defensive tackle Tanzel Smart is generating some serious NFL buzz after he earned first-team All-Conference honors and had 15 tackles for loss in 2015. Linebacker Nico Marley also was named to the first team and is firmly entrenched as one of the American's top linebackers. And to talk more about what's been going on down in New Orleans in the off-season, we have JP Gooderham from fearthewave.com joining us on Skype. Stay with us, that's up next.
Wipe the blood away from his face. Lynch on the move. Kind of a long throw. Caught. Touchdown. Time to throw over the middle. Intercepted. It's over.
On behalf of the city of Miami Beach, it is my great honor to award the championship trophy to the Memphis Tigers.
This is the time of year you want to keep playing.
And it's Flowers. This is a design draw. Got a couple of good blocks. Right to the corner. He'll get in easily. Touchdown, USF. Now they go to the ground. This is Anthony Wales. Wales breaks free. Down to the 10. 5. He scores.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the American Digital Network. We're breaking down Tulane football today and are joined on Skype by fearthewave.com editor JP Gooderham. JP, thanks for joining us today. Now, after watching Tulane struggle the past couple of seasons in the American, it seems hard to believe that a guy like Willie Fritz isn't going to find some way to get more wins this season. What have you noticed about the difference in his coaching style, and why might he be just the right fit at Tulane?
Yeah, that's a great question. There is a massive amount of excitement right now in the Tulane fan base for what Coach Fritz and the staff are bringing to the table. The reality, for anyone who's not familiar with his body of work, it's impressive. He's won at every level of football and at every program that he's been to so far. And for Tulane, coming off 2 3-win seasons in a row, the fan base is desperate for that. And people are really excited about the brand of football that he brings. Looking a little bit closer at what his strategy is, I think one of the things that really jumps out at you is that Tulane as an identity and just the way the team looks is going to be so different over these next couple of years. Fritz, of course, is kind of a traditional spread option type coach, which is a very different look from the pro style that we brought in the past. But the biggest thing that I think really you should look at when you talk about Coach Fritz is that he adapts to the talent at the program and just the style of play that they have. Georgia Southern, which was a very traditional triple option school, he really built around that. And I think at Tulane, he's going to approach it the same way with the personal changes that the Green Wave has to find the identity that really works for this team.
Yeah, and obviously Tulane will be looking to a new starting quarterback this season. Have you seen any indication of how that competition is shaping up quite yet?
Yeah, it really comes down to two players at this point, with both Tanner Lee, who was last year's starter, and now Devin Powell, who was a redshirt senior, but really had a pro-style skill set transferring out of the program. It's going to come down to two guys. There's Glenn Collette, who is a sophomore, who has limited in-game experience, but a little bit more experience in the program. And then Darius Bradwell, who is a true freshman, but actually was an early enrollee. He had a chance to play in the spring game. Both of them actually have a pretty similar playing style, a very heavy run-first type of background. The question mark, I think, as we look at that battle going into camp is who can master the throwing part? I mean, who can really add that dimension to this offense in a way that puts Tulane in a position to succeed early on? And I think all of us are really watching that with bated breath right now.
Regardless of the starting quarterback in a Fritz-style offense, how much can Dontrell Hilliard expect to touch the ball?
Well, so that's really one of the most interesting things about Tulane's offense. What we're missing right now in knowing who our quarterback is and some turnover in the wide receiver core, Tulane has an incredibly strong arsenal of running backs. And Dontrell Hilliard, he's a Doak Walker Award nominee, but actually the arsenal is really 4 backs. And Coach Fritz has been quoted as saying that really any of them have the capability of having 1,000-yard seasons if they had the touches. I think Hilliard's going to be phenomenal in this offense, but I think that there's going to be a shared workload. The other name that I would really put out there for anyone who hasn't followed Tulane closely is Sherman Beatty. He had a phenomenal freshman season. He had some injuries last year that I think were limiting, but he's an explosive runner, and he really can do a lot when he has space. And Fritz's offense, if you look at the tape at Georgia Southern or at his past schools, that's what it's built to do. So I think even looking beyond Hilliard, there's going to be a lot of energy and a lot of opportunity in that running back unit.
While the offense might carry more of a question mark, the defense has a pretty solid returning lineup. Who are the standouts of this group, and who is that voice and that leader?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people on the interior line, Tanzel Smart is phenomenal. He's a all-conference first-team player. He's one of the best NFL draft prospects in the conference this year. He had 15 tackles for loss as an interior lineman, which is crazy impressive. So I think a lot of people are going to look at him. He creates chaos. That's the word that I always use when I look at what he brings to the table. But I got to throw out my personal favorite, and I think who should really be a fan favorite this year, and that's senior Nico Marley. Undersized linebacker. He only had 1 FBS offer. He also became all-conference last year. He has a ton of tackles for loss. It's like watching the Tasmanian Devil. You know, he just kind of comes out of nowhere and he creates havoc around him. And I think that's going to be a big source of leadership when you look at the defense as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the product on the field this fall. Are there any games early on in the season that you think may be a good indication of what kind of season this team is going to have? Definitely an interesting matchup in Week 3 against Navy.
That's the one that I have circled. Tulane, Navy was phenomenal last year under Keenan Reynolds. I was really impressed with what they did. Tulane really competed with them, even when they were having really the toughest stretch of their season. I think that's one of the games you have to circle because, like I said, I think that really that defensive front for Tulane is going to make or break the defense this year, and you have to bring that and find success if you're going to play Navy well. And then B, I think that's going to be a measuring stick for how far this Tulane team can go in this first season, kind of year 0 situation for Coach Fritz.
All right, JP. Well, thanks for giving us a closer look at what's been going on down in New Orleans with Tulane football. We look forward to seeing Coach Fritz get to work in just a few weeks. Thanks again.
Thank you. See ya.
Here's a look at Tulane's schedule the first 4 weeks of the season. They'll open up on the road at Wake Forest before returning home to Yulman Stadium for 3 straight home games against Southern, Navy, and University of Louisiana at Lafayette. Thanks for tuning in with us here at the ADN. I'm Haley Outen.